One of the funny things about this whole quarantine thing is that I have all this time to watch films, and typically I would be watching nothing but new films, which is always what I do, unless I'm doing something for my channel like a series review. But I can't help but want to watch a bunch of shit I've already seen during this and review it. I'm just grabbing all sorts of movies off of my collection and watching them. And I just was very compelled to watch Upgrade. So I watched that, and then I watched Live, Die, Repeat, and I'm watching Ex Machina right now. I'm grabbing all these movies, and I just bought Under the Skin, and I just got freaking Her in the mail, and I bought like, oh my god, I have so much sitting right here in front of me. You can't see off screen, like fucking 100 movies, like literally sitting right in front of me. Anyway, all right, so Upgrade, written and directed by Lee Winnell, who has now done Insidious Chapter 3, Upgrade, and The Invisible Man. Big fan of all three of them. So this dude, and then of course he created the Saw franchise, and the guy has been involved in so many incredible things. He's such a great writer. And now a director. I mean, I love him as a director. I think his direction in this is phenomenal. This is legit one of the best movies of the decade for me. I love it. And I was wondering when I went back to watch it this time, I was like, will I like it as much? Will I be as high on it as I was the first time? Because the first time I was like, damn, that was great. And I haven't watched it since. And I went back a little nervous, like, oh man, is this going to hold up? It was better than I remember. I was just blown away. Like, I was like, wow, this film is legit fantastic. And I just don't feel like it gets talked about enough. Now, that said, I know people always say that, and it's like, how long, like, how much can someone talk about something before? I've always been kind of unclear on what people want from that. Like, what's talked about enough? You know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, like this one's so underrated and like it should be brought up more and this and that. And it's like, so what films are brought up enough? You know? Like, what, Star Wars? Like, are we talking about that? Is that what they think that these movies should be? And so I'm saying it right now, but I'm like really trying to like think about what does that even mean? What does that even look like? Like, every person who sits down in my chair in the salon is like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Upgrade. Like, that's just not going to happen. I mean, there's literally millions of films and thousands of excellent ones. And we all watch different things and whatnot. I don't know. Like, the whole underrated, not talked about enough thing, even though I've said it plenty of times, as we all have, I think that comment itself is overrated. I think that comment itself is talked about too much because what does that even look like? I don't know. Anyways, but I don't know. As I said, like, people don't, I can't think of any movies that people are talking to me about all that much unless they just came out, you know? Like, unless they were just released. But when this came out, I didn't hear much about it outside of my friends. So there you go. I guess that's what it would be. I wish this would have been seen and talked about more when it was released. Now that it's 5 years old or wherever fucking old it is, 2000 and something. I think it's something around there. Yeah, I wish I would have heard more people talk about it. But as I said, it has a 7.5 on IMDb, so it's loved like it should be. The opening credits to this movie are unique. Like, it's just this, I don't even know what I would call that, but this like wave pattern, like audio, and it's just a robotic voice reading the production companies and such, as opposed to like showing their actual little clips that they normally put, like a Lionsgate or whatever fucking companies these were, Blumhouse, Tilt, or like this is. Really weird. Never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. Logan Marshall Green plays our main character here, and Logan Marshall Green is an actor who, of course, I think the most often he gets talked about is when he is referred to as a Tom Hardy lookalike, or some people call him the poor man's Tom Hardy. But I don't know, man. The dude has been in some unbelievably great stuff. Obviously, with Upgrade and The Invitation and such, it's like, I don't know. Is he though? Is he like the poor man's Tom Hardy? Yes, he doesn't have the big blockbuster titles and the fame and everything behind him, but should he? I don't know. Because he's great in this. He's great in The Invitation. He's awesome. And in this movie, he really, really is fantastic. We get a look at the new cars in the future, which are pretty cool. They're driverless, which driverless cars have always been scary to me. Like, you're just completely depending on a computer program to function properly at all times while driving down the freeway at 70, 80 miles per hour. Like, what if a satellite gets hit and the internet goes out and the car just, is coasting along and you have no idea and you're sitting there just doing whatever the hell you're doing, watching a movie or reading a book or sleeping, and this thing is just drifting down the road and it just smashes into something because you're not, paying attention. You're not in control of anything. Like, that's why I have an issue with flying. That's why I have an issue with anything. Yes, I know. I get it. Statistics. Wow. Yeah, that really works on people who are irrational. I don't know why statistics are always the go-to for people, but I get why. I guess I just am like, you're clearly not an irrational person in that context if you're using statistics, because statistics don't mean shit to me. They're always like, oh, well, you have a better chance of this and that, dying in a plane crash than winning the lottery twice or whatever. And it's like, okay, like, I understand that, but every person who's ever been in a plane crash while they were falling and plummeting towards the ground were going over their statistics in their head going, they said this would never happen to me. And I always feel like I'll be that asshole who's like plummeting to earth and being like, it would be me. It would be me. But yeah, just being in one of those cars, like, what I was trying to get to the point of is like, yes, I understand that I have a higher likelihood of dying in a car, like 10,000 fold. That said, I still feel in control. Yes, it might be a completely ridiculous thing. Like, it's a false sense of security because it's factually and statistically untrue, but it is a sense that I can't convince my brain otherwise of. Like, I am in control of that car, and if something comes out in front of me, I have, like, it's my life. And if I fuck up, then it's my fuck up, and I died because of my mistake. But, like, having somebody else who's flying a plane, who's whatever, it's their fuck up, and I don't want their fuck up. I want my fuck up to kill me, not somebody else's. Like, I want to be responsible for my own death, not somebody else, Like, I want my life in my hands. That's why I don't like the idea of fate or, predetermined life, any of that kind of shit. Like, no. If I can't make my own choices, if I'm not in control, I have a control issue. There's no doubt about it. Maybe I need to go see like a dominatrix or something and like have her break me of this. But yeah, anyway. All right, we went way out of control there. It was like 5 minutes about autopilots and flying, but welcome to Sinister Cinema Reviews. Police drones everywhere. This is an inevitable future as well. This will happen. I mean, we're already seeing some of it, but like mini little drones probably already is happening to some extent. But regardless, like legit, they're every single place. And people are identifying they have no privacy of any sort and whatnot. Yeah, this is absolutely an inevitability for sure. Watching his wife die before his eyes and he can't move at all. He just has to sit there and watch it. I mean, kill me now. Kill me now. That's why I feel like the ending of this movie, which is one of the best endings of a film in forever, hits so right and so wrong for me. And we'll get to the ending. I'm gonna save that actually. So let's not jump. Let's not jump ahead too much. But it helps. Like just watching his wife die like that before him, I feel like sells the ending even better. Because who wants to live with that memory? Who wants to live with the memory that you couldn't move to help your wife? Like yes, you were paralyzed. You had no choice. But like, you don't want to remember that. You don't want to be around for like who the hell wants to live like that? I don't know. Paralyzed from the neck down, not being able to do anything but like move your head and talk. Fuck that, man. Not being able to feel anything, not being able to feed yourself, to absolutely no chance in hell I wouldn't want anything to do with that. Nor would anybody. I don't think anyone would be like, man, I wish I was a quadriplegic. I don't think those words have ever been uttered. I mean, maybe they have. People are crazy. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, what a horrible fate. What a horrible fate. He tries to kill himself, but the machine won't let him. But he still ends up in the hospital. So it still gave him enough dose to put him in the hospital, but not enough to kill him. Then Aaron, the genius in the movie, is totally socially handicapped, and of course, throughout the movie, there's all these like little red herrings that point, and they're trying to give you this kind of they're playing it out like it's a twist that you're not going to figure out, but playing it a little sloppy on purpose so that you as the viewer think like, oh, I've got this predictable ass movie figured out. It's Aaron. It's always been Aaron. Aaron did this on purpose. He set him up. You know, he wanted to use STEM to get him this and that. And that's another reason why I think the ending is so fantastic, is because you just don't see it coming. Like when it happens, you think like, yeah, see, got it. Oh, I'm so smart. I got it. I knew it was Aaron the whole time. And then it's like, no, that is not what it is. So that's oh man, such subversion of expectations, but in such a smart way. Like just leaving enough breadcrumbs to where the majority of us would feel like the movie was trying to dupe us into believing something else, but we're so smart we actually figured it out when we really didn't figure it out. So it was like purposely doing it. I love that kind of shit. So smart, so great. And the operation like that he has, where the stem connects his spine back together, and the signals go through, and another thing that is extremely believable for the future. Now, being able to control his body and all of that, I mean, that's pretty science fiction shit, but regardless, the ability to fix a severed spine with a chip like that implanted that connects the I want to say the neural pathways that's in your brain. Whatever it is. I'm not a fucking doctor. You don't come here for medical advice. You come here for rants and rhetoric. And then he has the surgery. No one can know. The camera movement, like right when he becomes a robot, and the fight sequences in this movie are phenomenal. Just awesome, inventive, unique, original feeling. How often do you get to say that? Especially in like an action movie, in a genre film. You never feel like that. Now, this is a movie that's considered horror to some people. I don't see that at all. I don't see any evidence to support that this is a horror film. So, like, people have this in their top horror movies of the year and all that, and it's like, I'm not going to argue with you, but I apologize. I don't see any evidence. I mean, what in this is horror? I mean, yeah, there's horrific things in it, like watching your wife die and all that, but like, does that mean John Wick is a horror movie because he watches his puppy die? Like, there's nothing in this movie that's horror. I just don't see anything to suggest horror. Lee Winnell, I guess, is why, and it's Blumhouse. So people are like, oh, it's got to be horror. Based on what? Based on that? No, that doesn't work. But Stim being able to take control of his body and him having these, I love the commentary, the back and forth between him and Stim, and when he's like talking to these people and he's, being all cocky, and Stim's like, don't get cocky. And like all that stuff is hilarious and awesome. The fights, the way he moves and the way he fights and the way he kicks the guys around the house and the way the camera movement and all that is just so unique. Never seen anything like it. It's so fluid and it's so intriguing and it's so aesthetically interesting. I can't get enough of that stuff in this movie. And then when he goes in on the bar and he pops himself up, and Stim has the ability to shut off his nerve receptors so he can't feel anything and all that. Man, I needed Stim for a lot of different things in my life. He could shut off the pain receptors in my body. Holy hell, man, I could have used that. The first kill, where he takes the knife and he puts it through the guy's mouth and he pulls it back and the head completely comes back like a freaking Canadian in South Park or Pac-Man. Amazing kill. Amazing kill. And then the other kill where he takes the guy's arm, breaks it backwards, and then uses his hand inserted, implanted gun in his hand to blow his head off, and his head completely, explodes and shit goes everywhere. One of my favorite head explosions in a film. It's just fantastic. So unbelievably gory in that moment. So violent. And God, yes, please more of that. Please more of that in my life. And love that he like goes in that guy's house and he has the big fight with him and he's like, I can't possibly remember everything he touched. And Stim's like, I have a record of everything you've touched. Like it's just it's so funny, but it's like organically funny. Like nothing feels forced. It's just really witty humor, and most of it comes from Stim. Stim is just hilarious. And I have to say, like, I would exploit the shit out of this. Like, out of Stim. What he's able to achieve, all that stuff. Oh, man, I'd be going around. I wouldn't be picking fights, but I definitely would not be backing out of them. I would definitely be going around to a bunch of people who deserve it, in my opinion. And just go over and I'd say everything I ever wanted to say to them. And then I'd be able to just whoop their ass like nothing. Oh man, I would exploit the ability to know anything at a moment's notice. I'd be going to trivia. I'd be talking to everybody, and I would be a master of everything. Everybody would be asking me questions, and in my head, Stim would be sitting there giving me all the information. I'd be able to remember everything I ever did because Stim's recording everything. Forget it, man. I'd be using this like crazy. So, he has to fake like he's paralyzed in this movie. That must suck. But I'd rather be faking that I'm paralyzed and not be paralyzed. Then he has this hacker moment. Which is a good sequence, and he gets rebooted and then he like pops up. I'm not sure how Stim is able to like just stand straight up, but yeah, I thought that was funny. The nanotech sneeze kill for me, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. It's an interesting idea though. It's an interesting idea. I just think it's a tad silly. It's the only part of the movie I'm like, I don't know if I needed that. I'm not against it, but I'm not super for it either. So I just found it to be a tad silly. I feel like the arm guns have way too many bullets. There's so many in them. I'm like, really? Like I feel like they had to cock their arm, but there's like 15 bullets in an arm. Just seemed a little ridiculous. Although the whole movie's ridiculous, right? I like that the phones are just like little earpieces that you just pop in your ear. I think that's an inevitable thing as well. And then, then we get to the end. And you got the detective chasing after him throughout the movie. And when he gets there, he thinks Aaron's responsible. He has it all worked out, and then Aaron does the big drop, as a Lee Winnell movie normally would, the big twist reveal. But man, this lands so hard. It's like, oh no, Stim is the one that did this. He wanted to be human. He wanted to eliminate any threat to him, so he used you for that. And he had to get our main character here to break mentally so he could take over control of his body. Like, he couldn't take control of his body because he does fight him a decent amount in the movie. He he tries to fight him and and sometimes he's able to kind of move his hand a little bit and get the gun to take away from the girl and all this stuff. And then, once he pushes strong enough against it, it breaks his mind. And we get a little hint of this earlier in the movie when he sees his wife sitting there, and he's like, that wasn't a dream. Like, that was real. Like, that was something else. Like, I know a dream. And it was like, no, Stim is able to go into his mind and project a fantasy world, a matrix, if you will. And so at the end of this movie, Stim wins, kills everybody, and then entraps. It says his name is Gray Trace. God, Gray? Really? It was a Gary, but Gray? Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I mean, he's sitting in there, and I don't know. It's like one of those endings. It's kind of how I feel about The Matrix, where it's like, I totally see Cypher's point. Like, ignorance is bliss. Like, I'd much rather live in the Matrix than live in fucking Zion, live like down by the center of the earth where it's hot and everybody's fucking sweaty and like nobody has any food and they're all dirty and like, get me back in the Matrix, man. I mean, at the end of this movie, and it kind of also plays on it somewhat in this, and it's something they touch on in Inception as well, where these guys are in VR games, and he's like, I can't imagine why anyone would want to waste their time on something that isn't real. Of course, foreshadowing what happens later in the movie, where he does end up finding happiness in what's not real. But, like, what is reality? This is what these movies do to my head, where I'm like, if everything around you feels real, and you're happy, and you have what you want, you got your wife back, and you're fully immersed in that, and you're completely content, and you never know the difference. I mean, you could be living in that right now, because there are some people who are like, no, I'd want to know. No, that's not real, so it's not real. And it's like, what is reality? Perception is reality, and if you think it's real and you're happy, you're in this fantasy world with your wife. And he even does it to the point where he allows him to believe that he pulled the trigger on his own head and is in a heaven. He's in his heaven, or maybe he woke up in the hospital and it was all a dream. Like, however he's going to interpret this, he's going to accept this because he has what he wants. This is what this was all for. The revenge was all in this attempt to feel some closure or to get his wife back in some regard. And now he has his wife. And so why would he ever fight to get out? He wants to come back and live the life without her when he can have her and he can feel that love for real, even though she's not real. She's real to him. So, like, who are you to tell him that he's not? I don't know. That is one of those questions, though. Like, if it's not real, but it feels real, is it real? Of course, like, yes, technically the answer is obvious. It's no. But then it's like, is it? I don't know. What you feel, I mean, that's really what matters. If you were able to go and create a fantasy world to live in that felt 100% real, and you were to convince your brain it was, and you just lived happily ever after in there forever, wouldn't that be better than a lot of the hardships and the misery that you face here? I don't know. Maybe people like that contrast, but I've had enough of that shit in my life that I'd be happy with being legitimately happy for the rest of my life. But I don't know. It's like a happy ending and a sad ending at the same time. Like technically he loses. Technically everyone dies and you know whatnot and but he gets his happiness. So he has a happy ending, but we also get it that the real version has a sad ending. It's a really great ending, man, and there's just so much to think about in it, and it's just rare. I mean, the bad guy wins, and but the good guy still gets his happy ending, and no, not a massage parlor happy ending. Um, yeah, it's wild, man. What a great movie. So hopefully you've seen this shit. I can't believe people watch these things without having seen them. But anyways, watch it if you haven't seen it. It's fantastic, obviously.